Okay, I think we're recording and we're back with our fun story, Bob. This is chapter 9 and it is Livy's perspective. Poor Rufus, Bob is saying, smoothing Rufus's short green elephant fur. Did you fall into that deep, dark well? Bob will keep you safe now. You will never be in that dark well again. I think Bob sometimes forgets that some of us are real live creatures and some of us are inanimate objects. It must have been because all that time he spent in the closet with the Lego pirate and Mr. Monkey and the parrot who got lost. While Bob and Rufus are having their little reunion, I'm putting 2 and 2 together, as Dad says, except it's more like trying to add the square root of 7 and 31 to the 5th power. Bob says I rescued him, but he also says he went to the chicken house in the first place because I was cold, not him, me. And I was cold because I was wet. And now it turns out poor Rufus was also wet. Gran Nichols says, I loved Rufus. I took him everywhere with me. So I'm beginning to wonder if maybe I am the one that fell in the well. If maybe Bob saved me. Bob, I say. He ignores me. He's sitting on the edge of the bed talking to Rufus with his legs crossed and one side of his tutu sticking up. A strap is sliding down over his skinny green shoulder. Wouldn't I remember falling into the well? Maybe I hit my head. If I hit my head, I could have drowned. But could Bob really have pulled me out? He doesn't look very strong. Bob, I say again. He looks up. Yes? What if I didn't save you? What if you saved me? No, he says, you saved me, Livy. Well, we have to go outside, I tell him. Right now. Outside? It's almost bedtime. It's getting dark out. He looks at me with his big eyes. I know, I say, throwing him Sarah's sweatshirt. I'm not too excited about the dark either, but this can't wait. 5 minutes later, we're at the far end of Gran's yard, where the stiff brown grass gives way to a lot of trees and rocky ground. It was easy to sneak out of the house because Gran was on the phone and Mom was putting the baby to sleep. We just walked out the front door, which Gran almost never uses, and then ran around to the back of the house and over to the well. Bob runs up to it but doesn't touch it. He peers over the top. He has to stand on tiptoes, and then walks around the well slowly, looking as serious as a green guy can look in a tutu and a red sweatshirt, so big on him that the zipper is swinging down by his ankles. What are we looking for? He says. Clues? Bob, do you remember being here with me and with Rufus? He shakes his head and points to the chicken house. I only remember the chickens, but I do remember the well. Not just from yesterday's walk with Mom, when she talked a lot about collecting stones with her father to make that well wall, but from before, from when I was 5. For instance, I know that if I walk around the well, I will see 3 little stones jutting out of the wall, one above the other, like 3 little steps that I might have tried to climb once. I circle the well slowly, and there they are. I raise one knee and try to put my foot on the lowest little stone step. There's only room for my toes. Bob, you don't remember this place at all? He shakes his head again, and I'm out of memories too. I definitely don't remember falling in. I force myself to look into the well's deep dark, and I shudder. Let's go back to the chicken house, I say. It's the nearest thing to the well. That's where Bob thinks our story starts, even though I'm feeling more and more sure that it starts exactly where we are now. It takes less than a minute to walk to the chicken house. Bob stops just outside the fence and says he's not going in. I don't like that chicken, he says, pointing to a big one. She has it out for me. Bob, pay attention. This is where you watched me wake up, right? Yes, Livy, inside, just like I told you. And then what? I say. And then you said you had to go into breakfast, that Gran would worry. I remember wondering what breakfast was, and you said it was usually something good, like pancakes or waffles. So I went with you. Bob is excited now, going up and down on his toes. He almost looks like a real ballerina. Okay, show me how we got to the house, I say. We walked, silly. I can't fly, as far as I know. Ha ha, show me exactly the way we went. Maybe we'll see something important. He looks at the chickens and thinks for a second. We walked along the edge of the grass near the trees. You called it going the long way. When Bob says the long way, I get this memory, like a picture flashing in my head of Gran's yard, all green and in the cold sunshine. And for the first time, I remember Rufus. I remember holding him, how soft he was, and how I tucked him under one armpit to keep him safe while I used two hands to climb over a rock or a fallen down tree trunk at the edge of the grass. Now we're getting somewhere. Show me the long way, I tell Bob. We start picking our way along the edge of Gran's lawn, tripping over tree roots and stumbling on little rocks that are loose in the dry dirt. Ouch, Bob says, bending to rub his leg. It's not that bad, I say. Well, not for you, maybe, because you're wearing pants. I start laughing really hard, because now Bob has a twig stuck to the back of his tutu. Against the dusky blue sky, it looks like he has a little tail. Bob stops and turns to me. I can't see his face, only two glimmering eyes. Stop, he says. Sorry. I'm still laughing. And when something hits my funny bone straight on, I just can't stop laughing. But Bob is suddenly serious. Livy, it's our rock. He points to a smooth gray-white rock. It's like a little table, almost a perfect little rectangle, lying flat on the ground and reflecting the moonlight. He hops up onto it. He's a good hopper, very springy. Remember, you said it was the Sylvester Rock. We had a picnic here. You mean like the book, Sylvester and the Magic Pebble? It actually does look a lot like the rock that Sylvester turned himself into. He wished to be a rock to save himself from a lion, and then he couldn't wish himself back. His parents looked for him everywhere. That part always made me really sad. Livy, this is where you saved me that first day. On this rock? Saved you from what? He drops his voice. From the monster. Bob, really? A monster? I was so scared I could barely move. My feet were stuck to the ground. You grabbed my hand and pulled me all the way to Gran's kitchen door. You saved me right there. What kind of monster? Oh, a toothsome and furry monster. Also, it was fast, a fast, toothsome, furry monster. And so loud, that screeching. He covers his ears. I pull his hands down. Bob, you're safe. There's no monster here. Just tell me what happened. Maybe we should go inside now, Bob says. Bob, maybe that monster was from your world. Maybe what you're remembering is a clue. It'll help us figure out where you came from. I start hunting around the rock for more clues, but now it's almost too dark to see. Bob is nodding excitedly. Yes, maybe it's from my world. I am the people, like you are the people here. But in my world, there are monsters, and they run after us, screeching like that. And then Bob makes a noise. And I look up from my clue hunt. That's the noise the monster made? That's exactly what it sounded like. Do you remember it now? Have you ever heard such a horrible sound? Actually, I have, Bob, because the sound Bob was making was meow. Bob, I'm pretty sure that wasn't a monster. I think maybe it was a cat. A cat? Do you mean the small domesticated mammal, catcher of rats and mice? I guess so. Most cats are cute and friendly, though. But they do say meow. They do? His look of horror disappears. Well, it doesn't say anything about that in the dictionary. But still, it was very brave of you, Livy. You saved me. He smiles. Then he pats the Sylvester rock. And I always liked this rock. I think I get it. Bob saved me from drowning, and then I saved him back by walking away from a cat. But none of this has helped us figure out anything about where Bob came from. I'm going to have to think of something else. I sit down hard on the Sylvester rock. It wobbles a little. Livy? Yes? Can we go home now? I want to introduce Rufus to Mr. Monkey. So we're going to stop in the middle of this chapter and I'll record the second half a little bit later. Okay, I hope you're enjoying it. I know I am. Meow.